Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Neheb, the Eternal.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 103 of the Commander's Brew Commander Podcast. Sean Tavares, how are you doing?
I am well. Andy Hull, how are you?
I am good. Does not compute. Error.
Errors.
103.
We were not programmed for 3-digit episode numbers.
Yeah. 103, the robot episode.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it's the robot anniversary. If you're married 103 years, you got to give a robot.
That's right. You have to give a robot gift.
Which will make sense because by the time we have life expectancies that long, we could give robots.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you can physically be married for 103 years, robots will be a regular gift for many things.
It'll be a crappy gift at that point.
Yeah. It'll be like, oh, another robot? No, thanks. I have 6 of these already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but this one's special because it reminds me of the robot you got me in our on our 5th anniversary.
Yeah, 198 years ago.
It's like the robot that married us. Right?
Yeah.
You get your husband or wife the actual officiant robot that married you.
Oh my God! Yeah. They mass-produced them. Mass-produced officiants.
I found this one. It was in a junk heap.
Oh no! And then some people keep them in a box under their bed for like 20 years.
They're like action figures. You collect robots.
That'd be awesome.
I don't open them. I don't use them. They're just sitting in my garage. They're accumulating value.
I never used my officiant robot. That's why I never met anybody. It built a life with anybody.
You know, in Europe, they just give these out.
Oh, cool. Anyways.
Cool robot jokes.
As much as I would love for this to be a podcast about robots and the future, this is the Commander's Brew, where we're gonna bring a deck to you every week. It's gonna be on budget, under $50, and it's probably gonna be no cards over $5. We break that rule from time to time, but we're very excited to bring this to you from the wonderful support of everybody who helps us out on patreon.com/commandersbrew. All your support's great. We try to give back in a bunch of ways with some thank you cards at the very least, or, exclusive giveaways or deck rentals from time to time. And big news, speaking of sponsors, we're always going to do stuff on Twitch. We are now able to be subscribed to on Twitch. And we got to announce this. We got a new sponsor entirely, Ultimate Guard Sleeves and Box Company.
Yay!
I'll tell you this, honestly, they're an awesome sponsor for us because I use their boxes and sleeves exclusively anyway because I like the variety of colors and the feel and texture of them.
Yeah. So they basically give us the sponsorship involves giving stuff to us that we can give to you. So from time to time here on the show, we'll give stuff away as well as over on our Twitch channel.
Keep an eye out for that.
But it really does make a lot of sense because we act like it's a company we contacted because we already like them and use them, much like we did with Wizard's Tower. So, we're not gonna have a sponsor that we don't believe in the first place. So you guys can trust us on that one.
Trust us. We're behind this product.
Yeah.
And then so you can watch us on Twitch we're going to be streaming fairly regularly, schedule TBA, but we'll always have a Brew and Brawl at the end of the month. Last Sunday, that's July 30th this month, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we did hint as well, but our number one sponsor who's been with us since the earlier days, fairly early on, the Wizard's Tower. Let's hear an ad for them now.
Oh. Hey, I'm just sitting here doing nothing really. It's me, the Grasshopper God. Yep, I wasn't invited to the party. That's okay. I see all you putting it on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, Twitter. Looks like a great party. A lot of destruction. I love destruction too, and I love jumping real high. Who doesn't want a big jump? You know how fun it is to jump super high, land on a pyramid and crush it? What are you gonna do? Stab it with a scorpion tail? Who cares? Man, This sucks. But you know what doesn't suck? The Wizard's Tower. WizardTower.com. Great place to buy Magic singles. I can get my singles shipped for free if I order $15 or more in Canada, or $10 or more to the US. And, get a load of this, I can use coupon code Tower of Brews to get an extra 5% off, and I always get 3% kickback for my next order. Kickback, jump back. Jump on your house. Yeah, I guess I'll start making my lunches for the week, 'cause I'm not doing anything else but working at the office. Grasshopper God office. Anyway, have fun with your hour of devastation. I'll be here cleaning up.
Oh, kind of sad.
Kind of sad. You know, go ahead.
That guy's sad. That guy, he just wants to be invited.
It's funny that we just heard from the Grasshopper God, because there was a Twitter thing where they were, I think it was like Josh or someone was trying to remember the name, that a clever name someone had given to the Locust God, and it was Niv Cricket.
Oh yeah.
I think Jimmy and Josh mentioned it on their show, but Josh was like, I didn't come up with that. And Brian David Marshall and Jason Alt were like, was it you? Was it you? And then I was like, we named him Old Grasshopper Head, but that name didn't really catch on, which isn't true, but now we did. So
yeah.
Just start calling the Locust God Old Grasshopper Head. Old spelled O-L apostrophe.
Oh, the only way to spell Ol.
Yeah, that's the only way you can spell Ol.
Yeah.
I guess you could go O-L-E, but listen, what are we in, what is this?
College football?
Yeah, what is this? The Grand Ole Opry? No, come on.
Where is Ole Miss's college football,
right?
Ole
Miss. Yeah. That's a
OLE, is that OLE?
Yeah.
As a Canadian, we pay very little attention overall to college football.
Yeah.
It's not something that really reaches up here. I'm sure there are people who are into it, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People love that stuff. The Big 16, the 2012, whatever your number is on that thing. The Final 8. The Final 4 is college basketball. I know that.
Well, yeah, March Madness is college basketball,
Madness.
And that does reach. That does have a pull up here, but college football a bit less. We've got the CFL. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Canadian Football League. We don't need a fourth down.
Yeah, no, we don't need a fourth down. We'll have a much larger end zone and a larger field in general. And guess what? Our balls are bigger.
Yeah, and how about this? Put an extra 5 yards at the end of this one.
Yeah. Guess what? We're gonna tack on an extra 5 or 10 yards to this podcast. How do you like that?
Yep.
Sure, we'll be using players who weren't good enough to make it in the NFL, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, so sad.
But it's a fun option if you're in any other sport and you want to go play, like if you're not good enough to make it in major leagues, but you're like good enough to play professionally, you have to go to like Europe, for hockey, or you have to go to Japan or something if you're a baseball player. At least football players just get to come to Canada. That's pretty nice. Yeah,
it's pretty nice. Yeah. And I will say this, not having that fourth down leads to more exciting plays. Like there's a lot. They take riskier plays.
Yeah,
bigger turnarounds,
more passing in the game.
Yeah,
less
you
running.
don't just automatically punt on the fourth down because there isn't a fourth down, right? So like it's the third down is a very interesting pivotal point.
That's true.
If you were to put NFL level players in CFL rules, I think it might be a better game.
It would be different because of how good they are. That's the thing. Those rules work in the CFL because the players aren't as good.
Okay.
But if you had NFL players playing on CFL rules, the scores would be way higher. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyways.
This is contrary to what you might think over the last 5 minutes, this is not a Canadian sports podcast. This is specifically a Magic the Gathering podcast about Elder Dragon Highlander, or as Wizards would have you know it, Commander.
And we're going to break our Canadianness by getting real mean for a second. That's and doing an opening segment roast. Hashtag Commanders Burn. This week, we're roasting up Tomorrow, a Zombie's Familiar. Some of you have sent in some burns on Twitter using the hashtag Commanders Burn. Love those. This one comes from Joseph Wonder. Tomorrow, Azami's overcosted tree frog.
Just an alternate name.
Yeah, I
That's
like
fun. Yeah, that's cool.
I forget who wrote this one because I forgot to highlight the Twitter name. I want to look that up. Will you take the third one while I look this one up?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to give credit where credit is due.
So this one's great. So this is from fellow Commander podcast, Commander Time. So it's at Command Time. Tomorrow Azami's familiar. When Kermit gets into Miss Piggy's wig collection.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Take a look at that art on Tomorrow Azami's familiar if you're not watching the YouTube video, because it's pretty funny. I mean, a lot of the burns are probably going to come from the artwork because it's so weird. Yeah, it's yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, it's a little frog, and he's got crazy wig coming out the back of his back, which is also weird. And he's got little what are those things that are flying around him? That's from
I think they're like little lanterns.
Okay, yes. Is that what they are? Because so those things is that in Spirited Away when she clips the little orders and takes it away?
I think that's what those are.
Something like that, right?
I think that's a real mythological thing in Japanese mythology.
Yeah. Cool. I wish I knew more about Japanese mythology, actually. It seems really interesting.
Yeah. I found who it is. It's by Ben Hiltunen at BenMonkey7. Tomorrow, Azami's familiar because today I have other spells I would rather cast.
Oh, wow. BenMonkey7. BenMonkey7 was in our very recent Twitch giveaway stream on Twitch, and he won the first Ultimate Guard thing. He won the Flippin' Tray.
Yeah.
He won one of the big ones.
Flippin' Tray.
Very, very cool. So, Sean, what about you? What do you got to say about Tomorrow Azami's
I got some
familiar?
burns for Tomorrow Azami's familiar. Hey, Tomorrow Azami's familiar. You're a spirit and you're a frog. Well, instead of flowy white robes, you show up in seaweed-soaked pajamas. You're such a weird spirit that even the Ringu girl thinks you're too wet and slimy. And if you were a Ringu spirit, your phone call would mean that tomorrow you will lose all of your EDH games.
I'm trying to think of the way to word mine better, but I can't. I'm just going to say, what is this card? What is this? Rod Stewart's magic card? A frog with hair? Don't you think Rod Stewart looks kind of like he looks kind of like a frog a bit? He's always been very froggy to me. That's more of a burn on Rod Stewart than anything else, I think. But yeah. Still, I'll burn Rod Stewart all day long.
And I'm not sure if my burn was more of a Ringu burn or a zombie burn.
Either way.
Yeah, but next week, here's what you can tweet us if you want to get
I'm not done. I got another
you're not done? You got more? Oh, roast
hey, Tomorrow Azami's familiar. My nightmare's called, and they want their little faces for eyes back.
Yep.
Can you see in this picture that Tomorrow Azami's familiar's eyes are little faces that are barfing green gas?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Also, I was going to try and make a burn about how blue control decks need to make the game last longer, but I couldn't really think of anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because all it does is just hey, you want to draw a card? You want to take 20 more minutes to draw that card? Thanks, Tomorrow,
Oh, we could also have gone this hey, Tomorrow Azami's familiar. Sensei's divining top called and wondered what's taking you so long.
Oh, that's a huge burn. That's a great burn. I used to have Tomorrow Azami's familiar in my Afara deck, which is draws a lot of cards. And I was like, oh, this is great. If you draw a lot of cards, this is perfect. And then I was eventually I was like, oh, I don't need to do this. I draw 1,000 cards in that deck. Why do I need to look at the three? Why do I need to look at 3 of them first? Just give me it. I'll take it. Whatever. So yeah, Tomorrow Azami's familiar.
Yeah. Sorry, Tomorrow.
Saving us from Nekusar, but other than that, just not doing much.
Okay, next week's burn.
Yes.
Brain in a jar.
Ooh, that's right. Brain in a jar. Let's read it out for the people here. Brain in a jar is an artifact. Costs 2 generic mana. It's got a lot of text. It says, pay 1 generic and tap it. Put a charge counter on Brain on the Jar. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Brain in the Jar from your hand without paying its mana cost. And then it says 3 generic and tap it. Remove X charge counters from Brain in a Jar. Scry X. Are we sure we haven't burned this one already? It feels like... I guess we haven't.
Did we burn it already?
I don't think so, but...
We burned Soul Separator.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Oh my goodness. Are we potentially double burning something?
No, because I don't remember writing any jokes for this, so I think we're good.
Okay, if we already burned this...
We're just going to burn it harder.
Yeah, we got to burn it harder. Let's turn up the heat.
No, but I don't think we have. I think I'm remembering something else.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Great. But what are we doing for this episode? The deck.
Yes, what is? Let's get to the main event.
Yeah,
this is
very excited by this guy.
This is one of the new commanders from Hour of Devastation. And if you've listened to our last episode or the Hour of Devastation review, you know we were excited about it and we teased it. It's Neheb the Eternal.
Yeah. 3 red, legendary zombie Minotaur warrior. He's a 4/6 with Afflict 3. So that means if Neheb is blocked, the defending player loses 3 life. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add red to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. This is what Glory looks like, Nicol Bolas. Great. This is a new zone for red. Like, this is a new red deck, I think. It looks very exciting, and I can't wait to dig into it.
Yeah, this is a very cool card. I don't know, and I don't know Magic's entire history, obviously, but I don't know of another card that even sort of reminds me of this card. Do you? Can you think of something?
Nope. No, I can't. Because the number of mana it gives you is entirely scalable. I guess, if anything, it's close to Little Rakdos in the sense that he makes things cheaper.
Yeah.
Only instead of actually making things cheaper, this is better because we can use this mana for whatever we want. Like, the game doesn't tell us what to use. It's like your grandma writing you a check for your birthday and just being like, use it on whatever you want, as opposed to giving you a gift card at Barnes & Noble, which is great, but you have to use it on books.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good example. I will say, and one that does sort of resemble it, and I'll just mention it real quick here, is Sakiko, Mother of Summer. She's a green card from Betrayers of Kamigawa. She says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, add that much green to your mana pool, and the mana doesn't cause mana burn, but it also doesn't empty. So that's pretty similar. But that's a green card. That's a mono green card. So we haven't seen red. And to me, it seems, I guess it's got green elements, but yeah, it seems like it fits very well into red, and I'm really excited to see what this card can do.
It's also so much better because it doesn't have to be combat damage. It's any loss of life.
Yes.
And the only thing that's not going to make you lose life is infect damage. So, like, that's the only thing this doesn't benefit from. So, man, we're gonna rock it out. We're gonna do some sick X spells.
Cool.
Anyway, so what's the game plan is you just to get some damage going, which all serves as ramp. And then we'll acquire massive amounts of mana and then just stack fireballs on fireballs.
And then surprise, Shanta Barris is going to say we're going to use X spells.
We're going to use X spells. I love it. My only wish is like, man, like this is the first time I'm just like, how do I get this in, like, do the Josh Lee Kwai where I do more than one color, but this is the real commander, so I can use other colors of X spells.
Ah, yes.
Ooh. But that's for another podcast. This one is just the mono red. Cool.
So what are some important categories that we're going to use here? What are we looking for in this Neheb the Eternal deck?
Sure. Since we're going to be stacking fireballs, let's talk about some fireballs or red X damage spells that can do double duty, right? The more they can do, the better. So I want to feature the best one of the bunch. It's Comet Storm, X red, and it's got multi-kicker 1. And then you choose target creature or player, then choose another target creature or player for each time it was kicked, and it deals X damage to each of them. And it is an instant, which could come up. No, we get all this bonus mana in our second main phase, so sorcery or instant doesn't really matter. But the fact that it's instant could come into play with certain other mana generating things. We'll get to that later. But yeah, so you kick it once or twice or 3 times, it only costs you 1 or 2 or 3, 1 extra mana for an extra target. So you can fireball the whole table, all your opponents, at the expense of 1 damage per player, which is an incredibly good deal.
Yeah, so you get to essentially double the mana that Neheb makes simply by adding that multi-kicker, right?
Yeah, the only cost is 1 point of damage.
Yeah, it costs 1, right? Yeah, so 1 point of damage. So that's pretty huge.
Pretty huge. And then let's keep in mind as well, like, it is possible, if you got nothing better to do, you can cast this on your first main phase for whatever you have, and then all that will come back to you in Neheb's second phase, right? So you'll hit a couple players maybe for 6. That's 12 damage coming back to you. If you had another similar spell, now you can do 12 damage to a player.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Double it up.
Yeah. Do you want to take the next one here?
Yeah, sure. The next one is Fall of the Titans. It's an XX red instant, but it also has Surge for X and a red, which means if that's a second, you can cast it for this if you or a teammate have cast another spell this turn.
I always forgot that.
Yeah, that's right. It's the old two-headed giant pre-release.
So if you play this in like Secret Partners, though, you can't know that, right? You can't.
Yeah, no, of course, right? Because you're not. That's not an official teammate game.
Yeah, right.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess whoever like decides the rules for those types of games, like what's the other one where like you're the king and there's the two
Emperor,
right? So like Emperor, maybe. I don't know if that counts either. I don't think it does. Anyways, here's what the card does though. Fall of the Titans deals X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures and or players. So I think the ideal play here is that Fall of the Titans ends up being that second burn spell that you play after you've used one in the first main phase or something. So then, because that way you get the surge cost and you just get to spend crazy amounts of mana and hit 2 people that way. It's but there's also the added bonus of if you do have a lot and you can use it in your first phase, that's going to be a lot of mana coming back to you because this does hit. You have to pay XX, but it does hit 2 people. So obviously though, the surge is where you want to be.
And I also want to remind you, we're going to do combat damage as well. Like this won't be the only damage we're doing.
Of course,
is through spells. So like we'll come back with plenty of mana in our second main. One I want to highlight as well is Devil's Play. It's the same thing. It's X and a red for X damage to target creature or player, but it has flashback for red X. So you lose 2 points of damage basically. It costs you 2 of a premium for the flashback cost, but you can cast it main 1, also do a bunch of damage, and then cast it main 2, and then just go nuts with it.
Yeah, if Devil's Play is hurt by the fact that it can't target more than one thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like Fireball, Comet Storm, Fall of the Titans, they can all target more than one thing. But Devil's Play gets a huge advantage by having flashback. You get to cast it twice.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the problem with Fireball is although you can target 2 people, you don't earn extra mana from it because you have to spend every point equally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's what, so Fireball isn't the completely ideal version.
Not ideal, but it's in here. It's still good.
Still good, of course. Right, so those are just some of the big X spells. Those are some of the big payoffs. You're going to be able to kill people with these.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
It's just you're going to be able to do that.
Like I've tested it out some like games or whatever. It's very easy to have in your second main like 15, 16 red mana. So like that's a very big fireball.
That's nuts. Okay, what else are we going to do with all this red mana lying around?
Yeah, we got to talk about these mana sinks, right? Do you want to take this first one, Andy? We need something to do with all this mana, all this bonus mana in our second main phase. So
right. If you don't happen to have a big X spell sitting around your hand, you're going to want to put that mana somewhere. Grenzo Havoc Razor, 2 red for a 2/2. He's a legendary Goblin Rogue. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. You can goad target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So obviously, Grenzo is going to give us a lot of options of things to cast from the top of our opponent's libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge, right? Like I said, we can have like 12 mana on the second main very easily. We haven't gone into the creature portion of the deck yet, but we have a lot of smaller creatures that have, you know, a little bit of menace or like make a lot of goblin tokens that we're willing to sacrifice. So it's okay. We're sending a lot of small things in. That's how we're going to do a lot of our incremental damage to get more mana. So that just is multiple Grenzo triggers in this deck. We have a lot of cards to choose from very often.
We've said this before, but I like this card a lot in Commander. I think it's really fun. This is the kind of stuff I like. I want them to make more for mono red, right? And just red in general. I guess red, like red plus any other color would be fun to have this sort of thing. But Goad is such a great ability, and then the exiling off the top and playing, like, that's awesome. Everyone loves that. Everyone loves that stuff. So yeah, it's like the fact that we have Neheb and we have Grenzo, like both these cards I think show that like mono red is kind of, they're trying to find a good spot for mono red in Commander, and so far I think they're doing okay.
I think they're doing great.
Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about another great. I first was aware of this in the Duretti mono red precon. It's Lore Seeker's Stone, 6 generic for an artifact, and then it taps like this: 3 generic and tap. Draw 3 cards. This is very hard to do in mono red, so we want that. This ability costs 1 more to activate for each card in your hand. Well, guess what? We don't care about that 1 more, right? Is it going to cost us? Is it going to cost 7 mana to draw 3 cards? That's an awful deal for most colors, but in red, if that's bonus mana we're not using for anything else anyway, I will happily pay some of that extra to draw 3 cards.
This is an interesting card. I'm glad you mentioned this one. This is what do you think of this card? Not in something, not in blue, like in a deck that finds it hard to draw cards. Is this card, where does it rate for you?
I think it's so deck dependent, right? Because obviously no blue deck ever, because blue decks can draw cards so much easier. But I'm thinking like maybe you might think like, what about a white deck? White might want this. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is I find myself in a white deck wanting to hold on to a lot of cards for like special occasions, like my wraths or my enchantment destruction, etc., etc.
Right.
So I'm never less than 4 or 5 cards anyway. So that sucks.
Yeah, that's a good call, yeah.
But in this red deck, we do that a lot. Like, we spend our cards to do incremental damage to ramp our things. So this is a wonderful way to get. I think in this deck, it's amazing. I've never found a deck otherwise. I guess if your meta plays a ton of discards, so they end up just killing your hand anyway, maybe then.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think mono red is the home for this card. Red white, I can see if it's because Boros wants to be attacking and is usually somewhat aggressive, even in EDH.
Yeah,
you might sort of put your threats out as early as you can, and you want to play your good stuff, you know, your swords and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
Lore Seeker Stone might be okay. Now, obviously, like, this is a budget card. I'm not talking about, you know, if you can afford a Mind's Eye and, you know, all these other cards that are just going to draw you 1,000 cards that are colorless, you don't need this. But for a budget player and a budget deck, I think this does have a home in a couple different decks. And think about it, like, if you get down to 2 cards, that's 5 mana. That's just Jace's Ingenuity, which is not an amazing card, but like, to have it repeatable, that's pretty good. 5 mana to draw 3 cards isn't bad. 6 mana, we're starting to like, okay, maybe I can use my mana a bit more efficiently. But there is also that card, I can't remember the name of it now, Tower of something, where it's like,
yes,
it goes 8 to draw 4.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you're coming in under that, you're at least on par with that card, which also is not great.
Yeah.
But it is a decent mana sink, right? Like, especially in decks that like can generate a lot of mana, which is the one we're talking about here. So I think it fits quite nicely in this deck. I think it's a very shrewd include.
Shrewd include. Thanks.
In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the Andy Hull shrewd include of the deck.
That needs to be a thing.
I'm still smiling.
Andy, are you okay?
I'm still
Andy,
smiling.
Andy, come back to us. Andy, it's too shrewd.
I love
too
it.
Shrewd.
Oh man, guess what? Every episode we're now getting the shrewd include.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay. Lore Seeker Stone. Neat little card. Next one is Lord of Shatterskull Pass. 3 in a red. This is a level up card from Rise of the Eldrazi. This guy is he starts as a 3/3. You level him up for 1 in a red. Levels 1 through 5, it becomes a 6/6. So it's basically a 6 mana 6/6. So like not great. Like who cares, right? But because we got a lot of this extra mana kicking around, and if we don't have a place to use it, this is a good mana sink. Let's level him up. Let's get him level 6 and above, because then he gains the ability, whenever Lord of Shatterskull Pass attacks, it deals 6 damage to each creature defending player controls. Each creature. So 6 mana is not going to kill everything, but you're probably not going to have trouble finding one of the players at the table whose stuff this does kill most everything, right? And then as long as we're getting things in, we're dealing more damage and we're making more mana and so on, right? So this guy just keeps the ball rolling big time. And can keep a token player in check, you know, if you get him leveled up. So normally I'm pretty down on the level up creatures because it just costs so much, but with Neheb, it's pretty easy to have that extra mana and not do anything with, so put it into this guy.
Yeah, I'm always happy to just pay him on 4 and then pay 2 mana to make him a 6/6 and leave him there. Like, that's a decent body for what you've paid over the things, but you're absolutely right. It sucks to put all that work into it and then someone finally board wipes. But if all that work was nothing for you, right? If it's basically automated for you, who cares?
Yep, absolutely.
Great. So we get to look at ramp in a bit of a different way here because of the way this creature commander works. So we're going to talk about like some alternate ways to do some ramp. And the first one we want to talk about is Cryptolith Fragment. It's a pretty new artifact that came from Shadows over Innistrad. It's perfect. 3 generic. It enters the battlefield tapped, which sucks. They started doing that on our mana rocks recently. But tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Each player loses 1 life. There's a second paragraph. At the beginning of your upkeep, if each player has 10 or less life, transform Cryptolith Fragment. And if it turns into Aurora of Emrakul, which is a flying death touch 1/4 that when it attacks, each opponent loses 3 life. That's great if it happens, but I don't expect that to ever happen, that all players are below 10, because it's just so rare. But that first one, I want to point this out. It ramps us for 1 anyway, but you can use this kind of effect in our second main phase while Neheb's trigger to add mana is on the stack. So it won't leave our mana pool. So we get the 1 from Cryptolith Fragment plus the number of opponents that Neheb will then give right back to us on his trigger. So it actually is probably a 4 mana rock.
Wow. Yeah, that's really that's pretty shrewd as well. Figured out to put it in that second main phase where that's when you tap it. Yeah. So
in the worst case, like you can also do that to like if you need the mana early to like do something else that pays off. You got to look at it like does the extra damage now give me more mana to use later? And if so, do I want that mana? You got to like balance your budgets, your mana budgets.
This is a monocolored deck, but this essentially with Neheb reads it's just a better Gilded Lotus.
Kinda.
And also, again, depends on the number of players in the game, right? Because that's going to affect it. But in a 4-player game, this does make you 4 mana eventually, and that's just for the cost of 3 mana, which is incredible.
Incredible. Cool. So that's one way of ramping. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, we got Soul's Fire, which is 2 in a red. It's an instant. And it says target creature you control in play. Okay, I'll just read the Oracle text. Target creature you control on the battlefield deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So just a quick, little burn spell basically, but nets you a bunch more mana depending on how big your creature is, right?
Right, right. It's just like a free bonus, right?
Yep.
You can probably like your Neheb's gonna always be 4 to start with, so 3 mana turns into 4 later. It ramps up by 1, which is not great, but it's important.
Yeah, this is something that like normally like this becomes a ritual.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, basically.
It becomes a ritual, and like unless you're going for like Storm or something like that, rituals don't tend to be that great. But Neheb adds to them because you don't usually get rituals that do stuff like this where for 3 mana this could make 6 or 7 or 8. Like this could make way more mana, right? So
yeah,
that's, and again, plus whatever you attack with and all that kind of stuff. So in those situations they definitely become a lot better than just like I pay 1 or 2 mana, I get 3 mana back, right? Like it's
right.
That kind of stuff we're still not that interested in, whereas this has a lot more of a lot higher ceiling.
And then finally, I want to first like sort of alternate ramp spells. I want to talk about Teamer Battle Rage. This is a ramp spell here.
Yes,
1 in a red. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn, and if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, it also gains trample. That's the ferocious tag. Yeah, Neheb has 4 power, so you probably always are going to have that. I'm probably going to put it on Neheb if they don't block it, because I mean, if you think about it, if they block Neheb, they take the 3 afflict. If they don't block Neheb, they take the 4. And then you're like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to risk a combat trick or whatever, so I guess I'll just let him through. Here you go. I'm going to double its damage or whatever. So you get an extra 4 out of it.
Well, you kind of even want them to block because let's say they block with like if they just chump block just because like, well, I'm not going to let you have 4 mana. You can have the 3, but that's it.
Right.
Well, guess what? Now I Teamer Battle Rage it. You get trample and double strike and the afflict trigger. Like, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So like that's gonna pay you back in a lot of mana.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, because I almost just did that. These aren't just ramp spells. These aren't just like a ritual, but they also do a bunch of damage to your opponents. They're also going to kill your opponents this way. So
yes,
it's funny in thinking about them as ramp cards. I did kind of for a second forget that they also could just kill them.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I was like playing some tester games, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, good, I'm doing some extra damage. Okay, if I do more damage, I can put more mana into my mana pool. And I'm just like, oh wait, I jumped through all these hoops to put so much mana in my mana pool. My opponent's down to 8. I'm just gonna fireball you for 8.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah
I don't need the 26 mana.
Yeah.
I just need 8.
So what's the next category here?
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the hard way, right? Sometimes we're not gonna have Neheb out. Sometimes we're not gonna be able to like generate 40 mana plus and surge a spell and hit all our opponents. So we're going to have to win the hard way. So who helps us with that? Malignus. 3 red, elemental spirit. Power and toughness are star, and they're equal to half the highest life total among your opponents rounded up. And P.S. damage that will be dealt by Malignus can't be prevented.
That's interesting. That's a bit of text that I always just kind of ignore because... I don't know. What do we have nowadays? That
when does it come
damage
up?
Anyways, but like that means your opponents can't use a fog.
Mm-hmm.
They can't use any of those fog effects. I hear like sometimes you'll hear people talking about like Spore Frog as being a real problem and as being hard to get around. Well, I mean, Malignus just ignores that. Here's something that I'm wondering from a rules perspective, and as we know from our last episode, we're not the keenest on the rules. We got a lot.
Let's do it. Andy and Sean's rule corner. Here we go.
So infect prevents damage, does it not?
No, it doesn't prevent damage.
Okay, it
does damage, but damage caused by infect has different effects.
Okay. Cool. Great. Okay, that's all I wanted to know there. Okay, great. So Malignus is just a big old monster, and I mean, don't even talk about if you get Malignus and Teamer Battle Rage together. It's
That's the thing. Or what about Soul's Fire, right? Soul's Fire is the one that does damage for your powered another opponent, right?
That's right.
Like
but when you Soul's Fire someone with Malignus, I guess you could do it to a different player.
Yeah, you do to the second highest.
If you did it to the highest, then Malignus becomes smaller.
It would, yeah. So Malignus, you save Malignus for the biggest, baddest guy, right? But even if you did, right, even if you used Malignus and hit the strongest opponent with it, that would shrink Malignus, but you would have gotten Malignus's power back in mana, which is now equal to half of their life total. So if you have a fireball, that will be enough to kill them. That's plus right. 1.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, wow. Yeah, Malignus really works. Really works.
Yeah.
A beast in a Xenaghost deck, too.
Oh, for sure. Doubling that? Yeah, doubling and giving trample to the half the power. Yeah, that's just
ridiculous. Gives it haste. It doesn't give it trample. I always think it gives it trample, too.
But it's always the other cards in the deck that are giving everything trample.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Okay, you want to take that next one?
Sure. This one's War Elemental. We've talked about this one a few times recently. It's 3 red. So red for a creature. It's a 1/1. When War Elemental comes into play, sacrifice it unless an opponent was dealt damage this turn. That's no problem in this deck. Finally, it also says whenever an opponent is dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on War Elemental. So you can just see what's going to happen here is that whenever an opponent is dealt damage, that's not combat damage, that's just any old damage, meaning any mana ramp damage. So you fireball somebody for 10, you put 10 counters on War Elemental, you swing with War Elemental and it hits something for 11, and then you add 21 mana to your mana pool if you have Neheb out, right? That's not bad.
Not to mention, I'll remind you of Temur Battle Rage again.
So if you have War Elemental and 2 of the fireball effects, you can just kill someone.
Yeah.
Right? From 40 life. If they have no blockers, you go, and you have to have 10. Like if you had this number that I just made up. So let's say you had 11 mana available to you, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm just playing out a Christmas Land scenario here.
Okay, let's go to Christmas Land. Let's go. Right?
It's 10 damage. War Elemental becomes an 11/11. You swing. That's 21 damage. Put that 21 damage in your mana pool. Cast Fireball for 20, and then you're done.
Yeah. And then he goes bigger by another 21, and then now he's over 40. So then we'll cast Soul's Fire and kill a second opponent with it.
Oh, man. Yikes. Yeah, so you can see,
right?
It's a fun, like, rolling the ball, like, things just affecting each other, getting bigger. This is really cool.
That's the thing about this deck. This deck goes, like, there's a line that is very hard to see where this deck goes from not doing a lot to killing everybody, right? That line changes very rapidly.
One thing I like about this is that usually in Commander, red is the weakest color because it deals with threats through damage, and we play on such a different level because not only of our life totals doubled, but because of that, everyone can afford to ramp more and play bigger creatures. So those red burn spells, whether they be life, they take down a life or they take down a creature, they just get outclassed and they just become irrelevant. Neheb makes at least the player side of it just completely relevant again, right? Like, oh, I can like, what's a big deal if you Comet Storm 2 of your opponents for 6? That's nothing in Commander, but it now is. It's now something big. Now it's 12 mana. Now all of a sudden everyone's afraid of you because you've got 12 mana plus whatever you happen to attack for. And what can you do? Well, that makes your next day. Like, so what I'm like, it's that rolling things forward, but it's taking red's weakness and turning it into a strength, which is, I think this is why we love this card so much.
Yeah, true.
Right? Whenever you can take a weakness and turn it into a strength with a single commander, in this case, I think that's a triumph. The people who designed this card, you have triumphed. You have done a great job here.
Yeah, because it feels so red, right? Like, because it's temporary. It's like, yeah, man, all of red's stuff. I like that when design decided red is more, the keyword for red is temporary. I think that unlocked everything, right? Red has bad card draw. What if it's temporary card draw, right? I guess we've nicknamed it impulse draw, where you get to look at a card and it's like, well, you can cast it this turn.
Yeah.
So it's like card draw this turn, but you can't hold it forever. It's like, cool, very red. It's like, well, here's a bunch of mana, tons of it, but you can only use it this turn. It's like, fair, red. That's a fair deal, red.
Fair deal,
I'll
red.
take it.
Yeah, because because then even with that temporary stuff, it can do some serious literal damage with it.
Literal damage.
We
Yes.
still got one more creature the hard way. Why don't you tell us about that guy?
Yeah, this is Hamlet back Goliath. 6 and a red. 7 mana for a giant warrior. 6/6. That's a lot of mana, but very often I've dropped this card on like turn 4 or 5 because I've just done enough damage with Neheb to be like, sure, I'm just casting this guy on my second main for free. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hamlet back Goliath, where X is that creature's power. That's everybody. So you drop this guy as early as you can, and you just watch him grow, and he must be dealt with, or else you'll eventually kill people with it.
Yeah, he gets out of control. I mean, he doesn't. He is just a big dumb creature, but sometimes that big dumb creature is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna highlight Teamer Battle Rage again, right? I'm gonna highlight Soul's Fire again. Like, these are cards in the deck that just, like, even if he can never get through, having a guy with 30 power has bonuses for this deck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love in the art that I just realized that it's 2 changelings are living on top of the giant in this.
I never looked that close.
I always knew it was 2, like, or even just one little guy up there. I thought for some reason I just assumed it was like a goblin or a kithkin or something, but no, the 2 changelings, 2 little pot-bellied changelings on top of this massive giant dude. Cool. So yeah, those are the main categories of the deck. That's how we're gonna. That's the meat and potatoes. But what about the real standouts? What about the 3 stars of the deck?
Ooh. Do you want to take star number 1? How do you feel about this?
I'll take star number 3.
3. That's what I mean.
3, 2, 1.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3rd star of the deck is Chandras Ignition. 3 red for a sorcery that says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. Each opponent is so good. Obviously, each other creature is huge too. It can be a board wipe. It can be a half a board wipe. Sometimes that's good enough. Especially like Sean said, if later we're able to play a bunch of like small tokeny guys and still get a lot of guys through that way, because 1 10/10 can block a 1/1 fine, but it can't block 10 1/1s. So great. So Chandras Ignition is a pseudo board wipe. Also, though, hitting each opponent for, let's say it's Neheb you use it on. You got 3 opponents. That's 12. That's a 5-mana spell that pays you back in, hitting everyone, killing a bunch of creatures, and then giving you 12 mana. Yeah.
And probably more, right? Because the turn after you do this, Neheb can probably attack.
Yes.
And I guarantee your Hamlet back Goliath, I don't know why you wouldn't have targeted it, is probably surviving that, and it's probably also attacking.
Well, you may not have if you didn't want your Neheb to die, right?
That's true. Yeah, you know what? That's absolutely true. You don't want to target this on other big guys unless that's just a kill.
Yeah.
Because,
so a lot of times you probably would choose Neheb.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Ignition, and let your big guys survive, and then hit everybody else. Hit all the smaller creatures so the chump blockers go away. But yeah, Chandras Ignition. We were all very stoked about this card when it came out of Origins. I think rightfully so. It's kind of, we've tempered that excitement, and it's kind of, we've realized that like, oh, okay, it's maybe not quite as good as we thought, but in certain decks, this card's at real house, and this is certainly one of them.
Yeah, you can get burned on it pretty hard if they just exile the creature you want to target with it. That does suck. Yeah. But, I mean, if they can't do that, you're getting in there for a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way they could have worded it where, like, you can't burn, like, basically counter the spell by killing the creature. I wonder if there's, like, a way they could have done that. I don't know. Like, making it like a permanent that does it, and then it's almost like a clone, like when it enters, you choose a creature on the battlefield or something. I don't know.
There is Rishkar's Expertise, I think, worked that way, where it didn't matter what happened to it after you cast it.
Rishkar's Expertise, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So yeah, it's like no matter what, whatever the greatest.
Oh, I see. Right. So okay. So I'm wrong on this. So if they kill your biggest creature in response, you will still get mana. You will still get cards based on your second biggest creature, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Because
there was a card There was a card that worked on casting. It set the number. Oh, no, it's the other one from this set. The one that did damage equal to the greatest power. Hang on. What was that one called? It's from this set. Oh, okay. Set. Kaladesh. Color equals green. And I think the CMC was equal to or greater than 5.
Isn't it funny how you can remember all those details but not what the card is?
Yep, man. Like, because I guess, I mean, that's kind of sad that I'm not thinking of the color, that like the poor names that they worked so hard on. Okay, no, it's not a 6 mana. It's a 5 mana. What was it? It's not a. Was it a 4 mana? I
don't know the card you're talking about.
Oh, maybe it was from Aether Revolt. It was Aether Revolt. AER. People screaming at your phones. What would an episode of Commander's Brew be if we didn't make you scream at your phones a bunch? I found it. This is Monstrous Onslaught. 3 green for a sorcery. Monstrous Onslaught deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of creatures, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast Monstrous Onslaught.
Right.
So it doesn't target. That's why killing the creature doesn't matter, because at the point of casting, it sets the X then.
So the difference with Chandras is that we get to choose. So that's the upside there, as opposed to it just being the greatest power. Because, like we just said, like you don't always want it to be the greatest power. So I guess in that flexibility, we lose the ability that it's going to be protected and hit every time. Anyways, yeah. Chandras Ignition, still a decent card, not bad. Number 3 star. Let's see the number 2 star.
Ooh. Let's get back out of green, back into red here. Heartless Hidetsugu, 3 red. Ogre Shaman, 4/3. Tap. Heartless Hidetsugu deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total, rounded down. That's the most damage for nothing I can think of in this game. Just tap the guy, and you'll get, I don't know, 20 mana in your mana pool, 16, 30. You'll get a lot of mana back when you use this guy.
Wouldn't it be way more than that if you're playing a multiplayer game?
Well, I mean, people won't, if they're all at 40, yes. But likelihood, you hit them a bit. Maybe you've done like 1 fireball on a guy. One guy's getting kind of low, right? Because you have to do damage to get the mana. So like, if this is your first hit, for sure it's tons. But like, presumably, like whenever I've been able to cast this guy, people have been chipped down a bunch already.
So do you think it's reasonable to say on average case, if like let's say all 3 players, if it's still a 4-player game, no one's been knocked out yet, you could say that they're at 20 life, and so then this guy would make 10, so then he makes 30 mana for you?
That's a fairly conservative number there, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a crazy card anyway, so like that's not surprising to me, but because just what it says on his card face is crazy. But yeah, the fact that it interacts with Neheb so well is nuts. But how is this not the first star?
Because the first star is
Pyromancer's Goggles. Yep. 5 colors for an artifact, legendary artifact that says tap, add red to your mana pool. When that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Oh, no.
That's crazy.
So not only does this obviously work with the big fireballs, which is just, very good, it also works with the smaller spells like Temur Battle Rage and Soul's Fire and things like that. Even Chandras Ignition. Like, forget it. Yeah, this is the number 1 star of the deck, no question about it. It's tough It's tough to boot out Heartless Hidetsugu when you're talking about a deck that wants to deal damage, but I think you're right here. I think Pyromancer's Goggles takes the cake. This is a great card for this deck.
Yeah, because we're stacking fireballs on fireballs. Like, we haven't talked about all the different fireballs that the deck uses, because there's just, like, there's a lot. I haven't done the count on it. I'm going to look that up while we chat here. But there's enough of them that like, and I'm trying to figure out philosophically, is it always better to double the first one you cast before you get your second main phase damage, or is it better to cast it on to double the next one later?
Well, wouldn't the next one usually be larger?
Yes,
if you had
and
two in your
that's
hand?
why.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
usually that second one would be larger because of the combat phase, right? So if you can get combat damage through as well as that original fireball, yeah, it's just going to make the next one bigger.
And this is the beauty of Neheb, is because unless they deal with him directly, blocked or unblocked, he's doing at least 3 damage.
Right. Yep. Good call.
Yeah, it's great.
It's funny because like the afflict seems like it's not that relevant, but just the fact that they know you're going to be gaining 3 mana every turn is at least 3 mana every turn is man, that's something. So
it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect in this deck, in this format. This commander, like this commander, is amazing. He's great.
Do we have any surprises or discoveries this round?
Yeah. We do. I've never thought about this card before. I was looking for mana sinks, and this guy's a fairly good mana sink. He's not perfect, but we'll take him. Kumano Master Yamaguchi. 3 red, human shaman. Legendary, by the way. He's a 4/4. And this is why he's in here. His mana sink ability is 1 in a red, no taps. Kumano Master Yamaguchi deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And if a creature dealt damage would be put into a graveyard, you remove it from the game instead. Cool. So he exiles instead of killing things. But it's like, you know, there's a lot of turns I've experienced where you're like, man, I've got like 10 extra mana I can't use. That sucks. I don't want to do a 9-point fireball because you don't want to like you don't want to cast a too small fireball in your second main. If anything, cast it in the first main and do more later. You just kind of get into that weird balancing act. But this is a great use for like 5 or 6 extra mana. Like I'll do a little bit. I'll kill a creature here or there. No problem.
Yeah, and the fact that you exile it is just really great.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Oh, by the way, never mind. By the way, so like, what is I know people are probably thinking about this, like, what are the number of fireballs you would want to include in this deck? Like, what's the critical mass here for X spells that makes it so that you can reasonably expect at some point in the game to have 2 or maybe even 3 of them in your hand at once?
Sure. So the number of... Yeah, so here's the number of fireballs I've got in the deck, right? 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6. I've got 6 actual, like, sort of fireball cards, but I've also got 2 or 3 earthquake categories of cards that deal damage to each player and each creature. So those are great to use, like, first main, always X equals 5, so that it doesn't kill Neheb, so that you can get all that extra damage back on other stuff. That is also a way they are also finishers if your opponents have less life than you, which is possible to engineer if you're playing it right.
Right, yes, good call.
Yeah, so that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. 9 total things if you include earthquake effects.
And those earthquake effects are also very solid. But again, you need something that would make it so that they don't kill Neheb, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, so those are not
there.
Right. Those are like little Chandras Ignitions, basically.
Mm-hmm. Cast them for 5, or if somehow you can, pump up Neheb or make him indestructible or something like that. But anyways, okay, cool. So that's good. That's good to know. I'm sure people were wondering that when it comes to actually putting this deck together. Cool. Well, before we get to the budget report, we will mention our friends over at the Wizards Tower again. WizardsTower.com. Type in the code Tower of Brews when you're ordering singles from them, and you'll get 5% off an order of $15 or more. Wizards Tower will also give you free shipping in Canada if you order $15 or more of singles as well. So like you just tie that in with Tower Brews and you got a great thing going on. Something happened with the American store, so that I guess the free shipping deal isn't there anymore, but they will still ship to the United States. And like we said even before when this podcast first started, take a look at that. Take a look at that exchange rate, because it can sometimes be a worth it for Americans to spend their dollars on our Canadian dollared cards because they're pretty nice little rate going for the old US right now. So there you go.
USD.
Yeah, Wizard Tower. Also check out mtgcanada.com because that's where Sean and I write weekly articles for them. And the most recent one is mine this week, which was I'm going through and reviewing all the multicolored cards, all the 3 colored cards. So I can't remember which one was this week, but anyways, we got it going on. There's a lot up there, so check it out. wizardtower.com and mtgcanada.com.
Great.
Cool. Let's get to the budget report.
This is the part of the show where we put all the cards into a giant incinerator, turn them into fire, and then they give us a whole bunch of money back in our second main phase.
Burn them.
Burn the fire.
Burn the fire. Okay, so what do we got? What are we looking at budget report wise? What did this deck come in at?
Yeah, this deck is coming in. Ooh, I lost it. This deck was, I think, $46. So
Not
we got
bad.
a little bit of room.
Mm-hmm.
The most expensive card right now in there is Wheel of Fate. It was recently reprinted, which brought it down, but it seems to be climbing again. This is a suspend card. So for 1 and a red, you get suspend 4. You can't cast it any other way unless you do weird cheaty things that this deck does not do. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. So it's a Wheel of Fortune effect that happens 4 turns from the time you put it into suspend. That's just red decks. We need that little extra card draw boost. There have been occasions where I've suspended a Wheel of Fate, and then I've drawn a juicy X spell, and I've been like, oh, no. I'm not ready to cast this now, but I don't want to wheel it away. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a cut. I don't know. Or unless that's too rare to be... Unless it's just worth to always do this.
It's probably still worth it to do that.
You're probably right.
Probably. Like, I bet, like, real, shrewd Magic players know that, like, you always wheel. Like, always wheel. Every time.
Shrewd dudes.
Shrewd dudes. Shrewd dudes love a shrewd include. Okay. That's the most expensive card. The next most expensive card is Rolling Earthquake, which is X and a red. And it says Rolling Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without horsemanship and each player. So this is all of the creatures. And this one's coming in around $325. It's from Portal 3 Kingdoms, in which case it's $55. But it was reprinted in From the Vault Annihilation, which I believe is the cheapest From the Vault deck.
Right.
I think that's the one that goes for where most of the cards are pretty reasonably priced in it. And they're kind of, super ugly foil versions. But, whatever. We'll take what we can get, right?
It's a superior Earthquake because it hits flyers.
Exactly. And
I think it was because I think in Portal 3 Kingdoms they tried to make a simplified version of the game. There are no instants in it.
Yes, exactly.
And there's no flying in it.
There's no flying because it was all based on like Chinese history, right?
Sure.
So obviously people can't fly in real life, so they made it horsemanship, so they treated it the same way.
But then when you merge it to regular,
the Asian market into the game specifically obviously China.
I thought it was only sold in Australia.
No, it was also sold in Australia because because that's where it is in the world, right? It's that Asia Pacific area. So, but yeah, it's based on that Chinese history, Chinese legend type of thing, and yeah, that's where we get the English versions of them, is because Australia also got them, and that's why they're so rare, because the English versions were mostly printed in Australia, I think.
Oh, I get it. Cool.
What a weird thing. What a weird thing. Okay, yeah, what's the last one here?
Yeah, third most expensive of the card in the deck is Combat Celebrant. This is just printed. It's a mythic from Amon Ket. So, I mean, It's about 250 now. 2 and a red, 4/1 human warrior. If combat celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as it attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase.
Ooh.
So this is in here as a good point to point out some rules clarifications here. Neheb says your post-combat main phase. His ability triggers when that happens. If you have another combat phase, it will still... You will get another... Oh, wait. You don't get another main phase, though. Anyway, this will come up later. But, yeah, so you don't get us another main phase. So Combat Celebrant just makes a second attack phase without giving you a main phase. But in that attack phase, we can do a bunch more damage. We'll get another Afflict trigger, probably, or 4 damage. This is just a way to do a ton of extra damage, right? Mm-hmm. If you've got any sort of Team or Battle Rage going, that lasts until end of turn, so you trample twice.
Amazing.
If you did have another main phase, some of these cards separate with main phases and extra combat phases. All those post-combat main phases, they all count for Neheb. So he'll
Neheb
give
will give you even like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, Neheb will trigger the first post-combat main phase, and if you can somehow get another combat and another post-combat main phase, it'll empty between phases, so you got to use it. But if you use it on a damage-producing spell, then you'll get that back. And then some,
wow.
Right?
What card gives you another combat phase and another main phase?
So we're gonna talk about. So we'll just jump ahead here. There's one in the money upgrades. There's one here that we're gonna definitely talk. It's definitely a money upgrade.
So this is a new segment to the show. I mentioned it last episode, but this is something that we often get asked about. So we thought we would start including it. And it's just like the upgrades, the like money upgrade or the over budget phase, you could call it. But this is just some cards that are like outside of a budget deck that you could, if you wanted to, make some moves, you could probably fit it into a budget deck. But here we want to just show like some over budget cards that are specifically good in this deck. We're not just going to talk about, Gilded Lotus and things like that, like stuff that can go in every deck and is obviously included in any commander deck where the budget isn't a factor. But what we want to do is show that specific cards that are very good for this deck. So let's take this one off the top here. Sure.
This is Walking Ballista. It's currently in standard and it's doing very well, so that's why it's over $10. XX, it's a 0/0. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. With a ton of mana, we can make this guy pretty big. 4, generic, put a +1/+1 counter on Walking Ballista. It's also a great mana sink. And then you can remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. That's an even trade, so it costs us way more to get a counter than the counter gives us back in mana, but it's not a bad place to put your mana if you're just sitting around. This is a great mana sink creature that also is a potential finisher. If we're like a dozen points away from a kill, this might be able to finish it.
A similar thing as Obsidian Fireheart. 1 red, red, red. That's 1 red, red, red. So 1 and 3 red. For a creature, it's a 4/4. It says pay 1 and 2 red. Put a blaze counter on target land without a blaze counter on it. For as long as that land has a blaze counter on it, it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you. So this is, again, another great mana sink that will pay you back later in more damage and therefore more mana with Neheb. So currently it's sitting at about...
Oh, it's not budget.
Oh, this one's not. This one is budget.
This is budget. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure this at one point was not budget. It just got reprinted in the Arch Enemy set, so maybe that tanked it.
I don't know. Even the Zendikar version is only $1.23. Either way, this card's great in Neheb, and yeah, think about throwing it in.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so since that's on budget, throw it in for sure. Dark Steel Plate is a great piece of equipment that's not budget. 3 generic. Darksteel Plate is indestructible, and the equipped creature is indestructible, and it equips for 2. This is selling for about $7.50, $8. It's out of budget, but it's obviously amazing in this deck specifically. I mean, because if we can give Neheb indestructibility, then we can cast our Earthquakes for like 10 or 11 or 15. It's just a bit pricey for this deck, but you know, with a little bit of wiggle room, we could certainly fit it in, and it probably deserves to be in the deck.
Sure. Next is Kargan Dragonlord. This one's not super over budget, but it's kind of like an easy cut, kind of. From when you want to make your deck budget, but it's about $5 or $6. Kargan Dragonlord is red. It's a level up creature. It's a human warrior. It's a picture of a dragon and a guy, but it's the guy that you're getting technically.
So weird.
The level up is for 1 red. It starts as a 2/2. From levels 4 to 7, it gains flying and is a 4/4, and then levels 8 and above, it has flying and trample, and fire breathing, and is an 8/8. So it gets really silly at some point. And again, like we said for the earlier kind of cheaper version of this, level up is fine with Neheb because you're just going to have a lot of mana sitting around and sometimes you can't use it. So you pump up your Dragon Lord and all of a sudden now it's making you, 8/8 at the very least. So 8 damage, but then like fire breathing is just a direct like trade for mana, right? We can pump them up and then just get that mana right back next main phase. So it's great.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
And then lastly, one more budget card we want to highlight that probably should go in, unless you're against infinite combos, is Aggravated Assault. It's a 2 and a red for an enchantment, and then for 3 red, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Play this ability only anytime you can play a sorcery. So as long as we've done 5 damage, Neheb's going to give us 5 mana, which we can use to untap all creatures and get an additional combat and an additional main. And every one of those future main steps, Neheb will give us the 5 mana plus any extra damage we've done in combat. That number will only get bigger, and we can do infinite combat / main phase steps until someone deals with the enchantment or Neheb to break the cycle, or we win the game.
Wow. Yeah, so as long as you're dealing that 5 damage, you're rolling with this one.
You only had to deal it once, though, because even if you do nothing with those future combat steps, like you could just use it to untap. You could use it to untap your Heartless Sugu and just tap it again and just keep doing that. You could use it to untap,
your Pyromancer guy that taps for it hits you. The Pinger. The Pinger will do it, right?
Yeah, the Pinger will do it. Yeah.
It's a $10 card. It's a $20 invocation. Woof. If you want a card that's impossible for anyone to read what it does, get the invocation of this card because good luck. Cool. Aggravated Assault, $10, but it's gonna win you games sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got anything that can get through easily, like any bit of it's crazy.
It's nuts. And that's it. That's it for the whole show. This was a very cool commander, a very cool deck. Lately, we've had the fast, the quick game deck. We got this one. We've been focusing on damage a lot lately, which is fun.
Yeah, it's a trend. It's kind of in the air.
Okay, so thanks for listening, everybody. Stick around if you want to hear the commander interview, which is coming up right after this. But otherwise, we'll catch everybody next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Commander's Brew Commander interview portion of the show. Sean actually couldn't be with us right now because he's off filming a new Spider-Man movie. So he'll be back soon. But instead, we are very happy and honored to be joined by our commander from this episode, Neheb the Eternal. Neheb, thank you for being here.
It's friggin' sweet to be here.
Cool, man. Yeah, great. It's we are big fans. We think what you are doing, especially for, mono red and commander, we think it's just great.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, right on. Exactly. Yeah. So, I got a bunch of questions for you.
Shoot. I'm an open friggin' book. I'm jacked. I got my spear lit on fire, plenty of kerosene to keep that sucker rolling. Ooh. Let's do this.
Neheb, your hand is also on fire. I just want to
Yeah,
point.
man, eternal, baby. I'm eternal.
Cool.
Ain't no fire gonna touch me. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, your lower, like below your elbow, is also on fire. I don't know if you know.
Bring it.
If you can see that. Okay, cool. So that doesn't hurt. I'm just glad.
I got a hot pocket in my coat. Can't wait till that thing cooks.
Okay, cool.
It's gonna be delish.
Okay. No, they don't have microwaves on Amon Cat, huh?
I also don't eat anymore.
Oh wow.
It sucks.
That's kind of a shame. Do you miss eating?
Yeah, man. It sucks. I miss eating. Eating's great.
Yeah.
Chewing on stuff. It's weird. I mean, I can't technically get through this weird blue stuff that's like a barrier all around me.
Yeah, you went through kind of a change. I guess you've been eternalized. Is that what happened?
Eternalized. Heck yeah.
So I want to ask you real quick about that sort of. So your your creature type from before, I believe, was just Minotaur Warrior, but now we've added zombie in there.
Zombie, Minotaur, Warrior.
Yeah, so it seems like that's a lot of text in there. It was.
Yeah, they had to cut some.
Yeah. Oh, really? They had to cut some?
They had to cut some. Should have been this: legendary creature, zombie, Minotaur, Warrior, jacked, awesome dude, all-star. Hey now, get your game on. Go play.
Wait, so you're also creature type go play?
Hey now, you're a rock star. Get paid.
Wait, so that's what you wanted to be, creature type get paid also?
Yep. Also, all that glitters is gold.
Okay. Yeah, no, I recognize this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from that Smash Mouth song.
Yeah, right. All-Star. Greatest tune ever.
Yeah.
Did you know that it's a cool place, but they say it gets colder?
What?
You know, you're bundled up now, but wait until you get older.
Okay, are these lyrics to All Star as well? Are these Smash Mouth lyrics?
Yeah, man, the water's getting warm, so you might as well swim.
Okay. How do you explain this? Are you just a big Smash Mouth fan? Is that big on Amonkhet? Like, what's happening there?
Oh man. Okay, so here's the thing. Part of the eternalizing process is like, okay, I can relate to like
listening to terrible music.
No, let me hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. All Star Smash Mouth is a decent band. Anyway, that's another conversation. But you ever wake up to your alarm clock that plays music and like the last song that you heard is stuck in your head?
Ah, yes.
Okay, well, when you get eternalized, whatever song you last heard before you get eternalized will ring in your head for eternity.
Oh my God. That's terrible.
Yes. I wish I could die, but I can't. Nicol Bolas is evil, and I hate what he's done to me.
Oh my God. Yeah, it sounds terrible. He's forever trapped you with Smash Mouth's All-Star stuck in your head on repeat.
I am cursed.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. That's... Oh, man. I mean...
Man, I wish I never made it past Oketra's trial, to be honest. I wish I was a regular mummy just walking around carrying pots.
Yeah, what do you think of those mummies? What do you think of those guys? Do you think those guys have it better right now? Yeah.
Right now, yeah, man. They can end the torment.
What are some of the other songs that some of the other eternalized creatures are singing?
Oh, yeah.
What have you heard?
I heard another guy get eternalized over there. Shake It Off, Taylor Swift.
Okay, well, they got a better deal than you for sure on that one.
Oh, is it? Is it?
I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but like it's definitely better than Smash Mouth. What else is there?
One. I know one person has Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's a pleasure to have stuck in your head compared to Smash Mouth. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but it's sort of because there's a time limit though. There's a time limit.
In my life.
It's not the whole song, Andy.
What?
It cuts right before it goes up a bit at the end.
Oh,
it just gets you up for it. It's about to go up, and then it starts back from the beginning.
So you get like, I'm gonna feel real good. I'm gonna make a difference. You get that part though, right?
Yeah.
At least.
Yep.
But you don't get the like.
And it's like, when you want to make the one up at the place, make a look at the top,
I just make a change.
and then it starts. No, but it doesn't.
You don't
It
get
starts
change.
over.
Oh,
You don't get that change. You don't get the resolution of
So okay.
the chord change.
So where does yours stop? You get all the terrible beginning of Smash Mouth, right? So
yeah. So I don't get the very
so you
end
get
of
the
song.
somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me.
Yep, I
Ain't
get all
the
that.
sharpest tool in the shed, right?
Yes,
And the
but I
shape
don't
of L,
know.
you get all that. You get the chorus because I know you were singing the chorus. So you get one chorus and then it stops, or are you tortured with the entire song?
I am tortured with. I mean, that song never changes, Andy. So you don't need the whole song
That's
to be
true.
tortured by
You
it.
certainly don't.
But I'm also stuck. I don't know what the person is doing with the change for gas that they asked for. I don't know
I don't even know that
narratively
part.
what that part does.
So you're telling me you will have to you will have to remind me about that part of the song, because I don't know that part.
Okay, so here's where it ends for me. It goes, somebody once asked, could I spare some change for gas? I need to what? I need to what? What do you do with this gas?
Man,
Lighting it on fire on your sick spear? Maybe.
You know what? Let's just assume that that's what it is, because I think that's what you would do with it, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
knew?
that's what's important.
Who knew Nicol Bolas was such an expert at torture that he would not only ruin the gods of a plane just to make a zombie army, but he would also then take that zombie army and have its chosen, make them eternalized, and then torture them forever with terrible song lyrics stuck in their head
It's
forever.
terrible. It's terrible.
Wow, I really do feel for you, Neheb. And, we have to go, but if you just had one sort of final thing to say to everybody, just go ahead and say that now.
I would say that everybody remember, only shooting stars break the mold.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.